Okay, I'm continuing my discussion here about the rule game of and I just got through explaining the rules, and I'm now going to go over some strategies. And the first thing when you play this game is it's a little bit like Ludo, so you want to kind of use a similar strategy. It's a little more complex because of the dice. It's a little more complex than Ludo, but you basically want to utilize a running game. That term comes from backgammon, but it's not. It doesn't really kind of mean. It means something similar, but not exactly the same. Basically means that you want to run one piece at a time as far as it'll go before move one piece at a time as far as you can get it before you start another piece. So you wouldn't start him until that first one moves as far as he can go. And that does sound kind of easy, but the reason that you do that is because he's gonna go through the course the fastest. That's the fastest way to go through the course. Because if you're moving two men through the course, then they're gonna slow each other down. You know, this piece has to wait for the back guy to catch up. So now he's just sitting there waiting. Whereas if he wasn't there, then he would get through the whole course faster by himself. And then when this piece moves up, you know, then you decide to maybe switch to this piece and keep moving. Now he's sitting here waiting, and so he's slowed down. So the more pieces you're moving at the same time, you're sharing turns between pieces. They're slowing each other down, and each piece gets through the course. Will get through the course at the slowest rate possible. So the fastest way to get the piece across through the board is to move him by himself one at a time. So each roll is used for his move. Another reason that you want to utilize that kind of running game is because in this game, unlike backgammon and Parcheesi, let's say, where you can two pieces can share the same space or the same point. In those games, in this game, they can't. You cannot land on a piece where your piece is already there. So if you have a bunch of your own pieces on the board, then you're going to be they're going to be blocking. Like his one, if you roll, your ones and your threes are going to be blocked. Where you can't move the back piece. If you needed to move him, then he'd be stuck. Also, another reason to utilize a running game is because your opponent will have a less chance of capturing one piece. If you have multiple pieces on the board, then he rolls a 2 or 3, he's going to capture. But if he just had one piece he was chasing, then he just has 3s that he needs to roll to capture. So those are all some reasons, really good reasons, why you want to utilize a running game strategy. One man at a time. Even when a piece makes it to the Rosetta, a lot of people will get to the Rosetta square and get an extra turn, and then they use that turn to, they think that they've somehow gotten ahead by getting on Rosetta, but you want to still keep going after you land on Rosetta. You just get another turn, which is really going to help you out. And also, if you play where the rules, if you're playing online at yourturnmyturn.com or something, or just playing somebody where they want this space to be safe, this space and these two spaces to be safe, then you still want to keep going when you're in there. You're safe. Just keep going. Don't get distracted. And there's two kind of situations that I can think of where you might you'll be forced to move if, like, you're here and you roll, let's say, a 4. He needs a 3 to get off the board. He has to make his that roll. Then you have to come in and on the 4th square. You have to start another man because this guy's waiting to get an exact roll. So that's what I meant by as far as you can go. Take him as far as you can before starting another piece. Let's see. The other time that you'll want to start another piece is you might not. Maybe you're getting towards the end here, and if you roll a 2, here, you might not want to get in front, because now you're going to be within one. He just in his next roll, you're in a direct shot, is what we call that in dice and race games. I define dice and direct shot and indirect shot. I'll use those terms with this, but it's a little different. If you're a backgammon player, I use it. It's really a little different for this game. Direct shot would be if you're like 1 to 4 spaces in front of a piece, because he can capture you in one roll of the dice. Indirect shot, I would define as being more than 4 spaces behind, where he can capture this piece, but he has to land on the Rosetta first, before your next turn. Like if I moved here, I'm not really worried about him capturing me, but there is a possibility that before I get to go again, he could capture that piece, but he has to land on this Rosetta first, and then capture. So that would be an indirect shot, is what I call that. So it's a little, those definitions, that context is just in the context of this game. They mean something else in backgammon. Anyway, let's see. So those are some reasons where you would need to start another man. Like I said, if he's behind him here and doesn't want to go in front, doesn't want to be in a direct shot, then you can start another guy over here. Let's see. Now, there's a chart that I wanted to show. This chart here, and this is explaining what's called the dice distribution. These are the odds of rolling each number. You would think that it being there's 5 numbers you can roll, 0 through 4, and you think that, there's a 1 in 5 chance of rolling a 0, 1 in 5 chance of rolling a 3, and 1 in 5 chance of rolling all the other numbers, but it's not. It's really kind of interesting. You have to roll a 0, you have 1 in 16 rolls will be a 0 on average. It's 6% of the time you'll roll a 0. To roll a 1 will be 1/4 of the time, or 25%. To roll a 2, you'll roll a 2 3/8 of the time, 38%. So that's the most common roll in this game. Number 3, or to roll a 3 is 1 in 4 rolls on average. So it'll be 25% of the time you'll roll a 3. 4, you have a 1 in 16 chance of rolling a 4, 6% of the time. So you can see the odds of, the Rosettas are 4 squares away from each other all the way around the board, but the odds of rolling a 4 is 1 in 16. So it'd be rare to just keep getting extra turns and rolling 4. So the next thing about strategy is, what I just showed you is this is what you want to keep this in mind and memorize this, or just have it handy for if you play the game. Because this is how you're going to know where to move on the board. Because you want to, just generally speaking, you want to try and keep your men 5 or more spaces ahead of your opponent when you're in front. So this guy's in front here. So he's out of range here. It was like what I was saying before. He's in an indirect shot, but he's not in a direct shot, not within 1 roll. So you want to try and maintain that amount of space. You're not always able to do it, but if you can, but if you are in the lead, then you want to the opposite. You want to, if you were behind and you want to do the opposite. You want to be within 1 roll. So you want to be here or closer. Let's see. So, once again, because 4 is the largest number you can roll, unless extra turns are involved. Now, a really important aspect of this is that if you have to leave a direct shot when you're playing the game, you have to leave a direct shot somewhere, and that's where that chart that I showed is really important. You want to aim for, there's a hierarchy of choices. You want to try and be 4 spaces ahead. Can I move, if I have to be 4 spaces ahead of somebody, or if I have to be just in a direct shot of somebody, can I choose to be 4 spaces ahead, where I'm only going to be a 1/16 chance of getting hit on the next turn, or do I want to be one space ahead of a piece. So let's see if I can try and come up with something here. Let's say, try and show you an example of what I'm talking about, because it's really important in your choices here. Okay, yeah, this will work. So let's say like I'm at this situation on the board and I roll a 3. So, you know, most players would just be like, well, I don't know, let me just run the guy in front, or let me just run the guy, you know, they would just whatever occurred to them first, you know, and there's no really method to what they're doing, but you can actually use that chart I showed you to, so, what did I say, if I rolled a 3, so then he would move here, he would be one space in front of this piece here, so his chances of getting re-hit on the next roll would be just 1 in 4 chance. And then, what if he stayed here? Or actually, that's probably a bad. Here, if this was up higher, let's just make this up higher because I don't want them. Okay, if that was just down the board farther, and then if he stayed here, because I don't want two to be in direct shot. So now if he would, and then what if he moved? Sorry. Now if he moved, you know, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now he's 2 spaces away. So, you know, now his chances of getting hit down here are 3 and 8, or 38%. So, you know, being one in front would be better odds. You'd be 13% better chances of not getting hit. So that's all I'm trying to show. You know, that's how. That's probably the most complicated thing in this game. It's not too complicated. You can, if you're a backgammon player, you can, and you know about duplication and diversification, you can think about that. That will apply to the game. Basically, what that means is that you want to set up your pieces, if you have a choice, to where you can duplicate your opponent's good rolls. So, you know, let's say, you know, if he can roll a 2, he needs a 2 to get off there. He needs you know, a 2 to land here and get an extra turn. You know, that would be duplicated. Now his 2s are duplicated where he has to choose between the 1. So you can make it to where, you know, I can make a move where, okay, now I move here from over here somewhere, and now I've duplicated his rolls to where, you know, maybe he wants to, he has to choose between exiting here, capturing me there. Maybe he's got, you know, a piece here, and he's 2 spaces away from an extra turn. You know, so he's got different. He's only got one good roll, but he's got to choose between them. I mean, in this game, he's more than likely he's going to capture more than anything, but not always. So you always want to keep that in mind. Duplication, and because depending on the player might you know, not always be making the best choices. It's just an idea and just a way to play the game. And then at the same token, you'd want to diversify your own rolls. So, you know, if I'm 2 away, if I'm just in the exact same situation, let's say I'm, I don't know, 3 away, 1, 2, 3 away from exiting the board, and then, you know, I might want to move a piece to where I have a 2 now to hit on this good square and get an extra turn, you know, or be 2 away from a capture. That way I haven't duplicated my rolls. I can either roll a 2 and I can capture, or I can roll a 3 and I can get off the board. So so sort of apply those. The last thing that you can apply is if you decide to gamble on the game, you know, you can take pip counts. You know, if you're a backgammon player, this game it's not certain, but this game may have been a precursor to backgammon or Parcheesi and those types of games. It's not certain again, but you can take a pip count whenever you're gambling, figure out if you're ahead in the race. If you have a whole bunch of pieces on the board, he's got some, and some are way up here, some are way down here, and you have some way down here, and maybe some in the middle, and none up here, and you're like, okay, am I ahead in this game or what? And so what you do is you could just take a quick count of how far each piece is from the end, and then you know, whoever has the smaller number is ahead, and so you know whether to gamble a lot or to not gamble at all, you know, to make a raise, not make a raise at all, to raise, things like that. So you know, there he's just one square away, so that'd be one, and then if you had another piece that was this far away, you'd add, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you'd add 8, so that'd be 9 pips. You know, that's 9 pips right there that you are from the end, and then, you know, you'd figure out his pip count, and then, you know, whoever has the smallest one is the one closest and in better position. So that's about it. So then probably the next thing I'm gonna make a video on will probably be the game of Senate, which I have, which is even is more complicated than this game.